Is your relationship with your partner one of the biggest pain points that you have right now? Then if so, you're going to want to watch this thing right till the end. You're going to want to save it. You're going to want to subscribe. You're going to want to do all the things, because if you get and understand what I share in this one video, the trajectory of your life will change forever. It'll never be the same. I promise you. Because what I'm about to speak to, they don't teach in school. And it's the reason for a lot of destruction in the world, a lot of disharmony in homes. Relationships aren't meant to be the most painful part of your life. Relationship is meant to fuel us with higher levels of confidence and esteem and satisfaction and pleasure. We are designed to be connected. So in today's episode, we're going to go through something that I learned from one of my mentors, Terry Real. It's the adaptive child and the wise adult. We're going to go into detail around this and how it shows up in relationship and why it causes so much problems, not knowing these two different parts we have inside of us, and how to bring it all together so that you can have a relationship that you are empowered by, where the level of love and respect and care and juiciness that you're experiencing with your partner it's inspiring other people and be like, wait, how? I want that for you, and it's possible. This completely changed my life, learning this concept. I've been studying this realm of relationship for many years. And the reason I've devoted quick background, the reason I devoted my whole life to being a relationship coach is because I have so much to figure out in this area. I have created so many messes. I have hurt so many people. I've been divorced. I've been on the brinks of thinking of ending my life, just the amount of pain that I've experienced in my relational world. And so decided I'm going to devote the rest of my life to relationship with myself, my body, with spirit, with others. And it's one of the greatest devotions, investments that I've ever made in my life. And I want to share some of the fruits that I've been gathering on this journey, learning about relationships. See, the reality is the culture we live in is traumatized. We have a lot to integrate from all of our ancestors. When you go back into history, there's a lot of trauma, which is trauma is anything that happens that is too intense, too fast, and like too much. If that isn't integrated, it logs as trauma. And then if somebody goes through their life and doesn't resolve and integrate that trauma, then it gets passed down in the genomes. It gets passed down. And then the next generation gets to hopefully integrate some of it. And we're on this collective journey. If you're on Earth, if you're on this crazy rock hurling through outer space, we're in this together. So this is something that's so important for you to learn about. Because we are a traumatized culture, it means that we have these two different versions of ourselves that can show up in life and relationship, even with ourselves. The one version of ourselves is called the wise adult. In the brain, this is our prefrontal cortex. What it actually is it's our prefrontal cortex online with the rest of our brain, where there's a coherence between, this is for the people that like science. I love nerding out on these things. It's when there's coherence between the right and the left hemisphere of our brain. It's when we can have a higher perspective. It's when we can be safe and regulated in our nervous system and take in the big picture. We can manage and tend our own needs within ourselves. We can communicate with love and respect and care while attuning to the needs of others. It's where we can see the whole picture. That's when we know we're in wise adult. We're able to take big experiences and stimulus and stay calm, stay present, remain with an open heart. Now, that's one version that we have of ourselves. It's kind of like we have split personalities. The other version of ourselves that we have is what's called the adaptive child. Now, this comes from Terry Real's work. He really goes deep into this. And this has been a game changer for me. The adaptive child part of us is the part of us that didn't get their relational needs met in early stages of development or through all the stages of development enough of the time. We don't need to get all of our needs met, but while we're developing, there's just a base level amount of need and relational attunement we have to experience for us to move up the ladder of development, for us to have a coherent, functioning brain that can be with the complexity of life. It's complex being down here in a body. It's not always easy. It's hard. This is why so many people numb out, and there's all these different types of addictions and coping strategies. It's hard down here, and so we want to give ourselves as many of the tools as possible where we can remain open and relational, because the more relational we are, the more enjoyable the experience inside this vessel, inside of our mind, inside of this my reality. I enjoy this experience that I'm having when I am using relational skills. It's just been my experience. Okay, now we're going to go into what an adaptive child is, what a wise adult is, and how to bring it all together in the day-to-day life, because I want you to win in your relationship. I want you to get more of your needs met. I want your partner to get more of their needs met, and not just your partner, but the people in your life. If you have kids, like, this is going to change all of your relationships. Okay, adaptive child. Adaptive child sees life through this lens of black and white, right or wrong. It's what's called you-me consciousness. It's the part of us where we know it's alive, is if we are relating with another person and we're in this kind of dialogue, this like dance of conflict of, well, you did this, you did that, well, you're not meeting my needs, and blah, blah, blah. If we're in the you-me dance and we're activated, we're in our adaptive child. We're in the part of us that is afraid of vulnerability. Our adaptive child is afraid of vulnerability. Why? Well, in the early stages of development, when you were a kiddo and you were growing up, if you had tender, sensitive needs while you were actually in the phase of being dependent, we're all born dependent. It's important to speak to that. We're this vulnerable little thing that comes into a body, and we come out of our mother, and we can't take care of ourselves yet. We're dependent. We're dependent that someone, our parents in our community, take care of us and can recognize when we need to be our diaper needs to be changed, or that we need to go to the bathroom. Not everyone uses diapers. There's diaper free. But recognize when we need to go to the bathroom, or when our tummies hurt, or when we need to be burped. And these just really tender needs. And then as we grow up, we get a little bit more strength and confident and capable and can do things on our own. And we're still tender. We're tender until we're in our 20s. Like, it's been studied that it's different between men and women, but we really, if the environment is good enough for us to develop, we're lucky to have a fully developed prefrontal cortex, at the age of, I think it's somewhere around like 20, 21, 22 for a woman, and 26 for a man. Don't quote me exactly on those years, but it's somewhere around there. And so what's really important for us as we're growing up is that we get attuned to by our parents, that our parents are resource, that they're taking care of themselves as adults, so that from a resource place, they can track what's going on for our experience while we're developing and can meet our needs, that can meet our bids for connection, that can soothe us when we get scared, or if something happens, they will hold us so our body can go through an experience of shaking out the terror and the distress, and then feel where there's stable, solid ground. We need to have that felt sense, that lived experience, for us to develop this other part that we're going to talk to, is that wise adult. That's how it gets developed. Our prefrontal cortex develops with lots of capacity if we are attuned to relationally. Okay, so the adaptive child. It's the part of us that, if we don't get attuned to, starts to learn certain strategies, coping strategies, that's what we call this, to survive the environment that may not be meeting our needs. So if there's feelings, or if there's, a need for being held and rubbed and comforted and given words of affirmation, if that's a need but it doesn't happen, the nervous system, the body, the brain learns how to adapt, to not take up too much space, to be a subject for attack or harm or more vulnerable. And so what this looks like is, the nervous system might freeze. Somebody might move into dissociation, which means kind of living in the head or living somewhere other than the full experience of the body is dissociation. So dissociating into thoughts, dissociating into thinking about something that isn't present. Going into imagination, kind of just zoning out, another form of dissociation. You ever driven somewhere and then you get to where you went and then you have no idea how you got there? Like, you don't remember the drive. That's a dissociation. Or freezing in the nervous system. Like if for me, something that I know in my journey is I was really sensitive. I had lots of feelings, but I didn't feel where there was an emotional availability as a kid. And so I learned to my nervous system just learned to freeze. Like, we're not going to show a lot of that emotion because it's not available for it to be met or held or supported in the way that I needed. And this is for so many people. They're walking around frozen with this adaptive child online that was like, hey, when I feel vulnerable, I'll freeze, I'll dissociate, I'll defend, I'll fight. There's all these different ways it expresses. It's the part that's afraid of vulnerability. It's the part that's afraid to express needs. It's the part that's afraid to meet others' needs, thinking that it's codependence. This is how our adaptive child shows up. It's important to know this, because clarity is power. Awareness is power. If we can see and understand that there's some part of us that is underdeveloped, that is adapted, and that has all these coping strategies that's impacting our relationships, because it's a little young part that still needs to get its needs met. If we can see that about ourselves, and if we can see that in other people, we actually can have more compassion. Because what we're doing here is we're actually bringing in more understanding. When we have more understanding, the health inside of us naturally orients to compassion, care, gentleness, empathy. Adaptive child. The most common way that I see adaptive child traits showing up in a relationship is like defense strategies of like, you're not meeting my needs, well, I'm da 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 da. And it's kind of this like, or let's say one of the partners shares like a vulnerable need, and then the other partner goes into, well, I'm meeting you in all these different ways. It's like it's like this energy of defense back and forth. And we need to resolve that. And the way we're going to do that is we need to get to know what it looks like and it feels like and what it sounds like when we're in our wise adult. I want to go back. I'll come back to this. Sorry. One piece I want to speak to too. The adaptive child, to understand, if you like science and just all of these inner workings of like what's going on with the adaptive child. If we were to do a brain scan, when we're in our adaptive child, there is an incoherence, there's disharmony in the functioning of the brain and the body and the nervous system. The information is getting distorted and things aren't working well. It's like a static inside here. Our wise adult, what it looks like is coherence between the right and the left hemisphere of the brain, and coherence into all aspects of the brain, where everything gets to do its job and communicate with a gentleness, with a fluidity, with an ease. And what that does in the nervous system is it creates like a felt sense of openness. Prime example, I was working with a client today and we were doing some of this work from bringing some awareness to how the adaptive child shows up with their partner, and then how to get into their wise adult. And so when I'm working with a client, what I'm actually doing is I'm lending them my wise adult, and that helps rewire it, because there's a place where they can't do it on their own. So I lend them my wise adult, and then something clicks. And what was cool in today's session with this client is I watched something change in their physical state while we were going and doing this work. And I said, "What's happening for you there?" And they said, "Something just clicked." So moments before doing this work, adaptive child and wise adult work, they were feeling a lot of adrenaline and anxiety and stress and tension in their chest. And we did this practice, and then they landed into, when I asked them how they were feeling, they said, "Oh, something clicked." I'm like, "What does that feel like?" And they said, "Oh, I feel relief. I actually feel a bit taller. Oh, it feels good." I was like, "Okay." And what they immediately said after this was, from this state of feeling good, light, relief, taller, I didn't even say anything. They just communicated, "Oh my God, this makes so much sense. I can see how I'll be able to use this with my boys, his two sons." I said, "Yeah, tell me more." And they said, "Oh, I can see where there's places that I go into my adaptive child, and then I actually, I, 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 I end up hurting my kids. I can see that if I do this work, oh, I'll be able to meet my boys so much more." Bingo. This is why we want to do the adult work, because when we're in our wise adult, that part that felt all those beautiful sensations, we organically and naturally orient to how we can help the people in our world. This is what I call giving from overflow. When we do our wise adult work, we get to know and track where we're going into adaptive child. When we get to know how to bring ourselves into and develop more wise adult, we want to give, we want to share, we want to meet our family, we want to get to know what they're needing, and that just naturally happens. I don't even have to guide that. That's just what happens. This is why this is such an important topic. This is revolutionary. When I started to learn this and integrate it into my day-to-day life, like I was in tears of grace and joy, thanking God for the answer to my prayers as I learned this information, as I brought it into my day-to-day, because I can meet my son more, I can meet my partner more, I can take more responsibility for how I impact people in life, and own and acknowledge where I do mess up and I do offend people. And then I am like, "Oh yeah, totally. This is what, I'm so sorry. This is what was going on. And I imagine that this is what was happening for you and how this impacted you." And they're like, "Yeah, totally. Thank you." And then we repair. This is the gift of being in wise adult. When we are in our wise adult, we will naturally have more to offer the relationship. And then if we have more to offer, guess what? Less conflict, less stickiness, less, ugh. where the relationship is painful and hard, it actually ends up being, oh my God, feeling so, like my client today said, I feel so empowered. Yeah, of course, you're in your wise adult. Now he gets to take, like, think of this, think of the value of this. This guy now gets to go back into his family, know how to meet his kids' needs more, knowing that the part of him that goes into you, me consciousness, right or wrong, is just a little part of him, and then do the work that we described or that we did, and getting himself into the wise adult, and then getting to meet his kids in the way that he wasn't met growing up. That's what creates empowerment for him, because he gets to show up as an integrated, mature man, adult, and parent his kids well. That feels good. Guess who else likes that? The partner. Seeing a man show up and parent a kid in a better way is so attractive. It's so sexy. And if anything, this could be your MO for doing this kind of work, to get to know the difference between adaptive child and wise adult, because it makes you more attractive to life. It creates more business opportunities. It creates more coherence between you and your partner, your kids, all of it. Doesn't mean everything's going to be easy, but it's way more easeful to have these skills. When we're in our wise adult, life is more enjoyable because we're in that place that feels relieved, taller, empowered, clear, confident. If we keep doing that work and bring that to the relationship, we get better ingredients back. And then disrupt the pattern that Courtney, my partner, and I see so much with the couples we support in our online community. So often where there's like the adaptive child's just beating each other up. When we bring in the wise adults and do this work, it creates so much coherence and harmony, and it creates more passion, more juice, more pleasure. It's incredible. This work is life-changing. Then the relationship, instead of being your biggest pain point, gets to be your greatest joy, where you get to learn how to get more of your needs met by moving into more of your wise adult and communicating from that place, relating from that place, and then, having so much more to give, giving from the overflow to your partner, to your friends, to the people in your life. It's incredible. It's attractive. It's inspiring. It's how together as a collective we will evolve and create more harmony. Just think about it. If there's more harmony in this brain, we're going to break this down a little bit. If there's more harmony in my brain, there's going to be more harmony in my nervous system, my heart, and I will have more access to higher levels of information. I will have more insight and intuition, and I'll be able to use that resource, the overflow, the appreciation I have for life, the capacity I have to be with hard things and shadows and the messy part of life. I will then be able to lend that to others, and then they'll be able to trickle that and lend it to others, and and it trickles. And then what that leads to is, as a culture, we're more coherent, we're more relaxed, we stand taller, we're more caring and kind and empathetic as a whole organism. And then if we're in that state, we start to impact and influence other organisms across these invisible boundaries into different parts of the world. And then once we're in a greater mass of coherence, guess what? We will naturally attune to what's going on with the planet, and we will want to offer more care because we're not separate from it. The patriarch believes, and this is a whole nother topic, but what the patriarch is, a sliver of it, is this belief or this orientation of that we're separate from nature and actually have power over it, that we are the ones in control. And it's bullshit. we are not separate from nature. We are of nature. We come from it. And we are a collective organism living and breathing and exchanging information back and forth. And this has been studied on the planetary level. There's a series on Netflix I watched years ago. Will Smith narrates it. It's incredible. I think it's called Strange Rock. And the first, if you want, even if you just watch the first episode, it'll blow your mind. I won't tell you more than that, but it'll help you understand what I'm saying here, that we're all connected, that everything's connected. Now, the more coherent we are as an individual, the more coherence we have to offer our relationships, and the more coherence we have in our relationships, the more that leads into wanting to help and support and and to give. It brings us into a state of abundance. And so if you're somebody that's taking abundance courses, you want more money in your life and prosperity, learn this, what I'm talking about. This is like the hack for all of it, is get to know what adaptive child looks like in your day-to-day life, in yourself, and learn to practice how to come into more of your wise adult. Okay. Let's take a breath there. I'm going to take a sip of my tea. To give you some more productive tools to develop more of your wise adult. So like, great, you might adopt this new idea and be like, yeah, totally, Mike, I'm like all in. Shit, what do I do? How do I develop more wise adult? Well, the first part is awareness. Get to know, be able to track when you're an adaptive child. That's step one. And step two is start to offer over new ingredients. In order to do that, we need to create space from our adaptive child. We can't always do this on our own. That's why I do container work with clients. So this is a process that happens over 6 months to a year or longer for some. But what you can practice is creating a bit of space to recognize when you're an adaptive child and take a breath. It's like super simple. Breathe. Slow down the pattern of what your adaptive child learned to do. Recognize that it's happening. Breathe. As an example, I'll use one of my examples that can play out sometimes for you to learn from. Sometimes, if Courtney gets elevated or activated, I can go into a freeze response. My adaptive child learned to withdraw from the connection. It's called love avoidance. What I'll do, the wise adult work, is I'll recognize, I'm freezing. So I'll be inside and I'll narrate. This is part of adult work. The wise adult will start to bring in narrative. And there's I'm not going to go into all the science of this, but it activates different parts of the brain. And it starts to create new neural fires. I'll say that much. So we narrate inside, I'm frozen. And this is just a name. This is what a parent would do. This is parenting. We're parenting ourselves. This is what a parent would do if they're looking at their kid. Oh, my kid just froze. That's what they would say to themselves. And be like, I got to figure this out. What do they need? And they try all the things to get them back into safe and connected. Okay. So this is what we're doing, just to orient a little bit. So I'll be like, I'm frozen. And then I'll take a breath. And then I'll offer my experience compassion by acknowledging what's actually true. And so I'll say something like, yeah, when I was young, closeness was scary. When I was young, closeness was scary. Acknowledging the part that adapted. Then I'll say something like, and now I'm an adult and I'm safe and I choose connection. I'm an adult. I'm safe and I choose connection. And I invite you to even go back and write notes on this. This is the day-to-day work. This is what will change your brain. This is what will change your experience of life. This is revolutionary, my friends. And then I'll take a breath and I'll feel that. I'll let that land in my body, and usually I'll feel like a shift, like that relief, that my body will be like, oh, that young part will be acknowledged of like, that was true back then, but oh, what's presently true is I'm an adult, I am safe, and I choose connection because I know that I am a healthier human being when I am in connection. So yeah, okay. And then I'll feel the shift, the relief, and now I have more to offer. Already things have changed in my brain, in my body. Great. What would connection do? If connection was something I'm choosing, what would I do right now? There's another thing I would bring in. And often, as an example from relating with my partner that was angry, is I'd maybe bring in a boundary. I'd be like, hey, I really want to hear you. So I'll lead with vulnerability and my truth. And this is another one that's fun to write down. The definition of power, true power, is speaking one's truth with vulnerability. Why? Because it's relational. The more relational we are, the more actually empowered we are. Empowered. Feels good to be received and respected. This is true power. I call it gentle power. Okay, so lead with, hey, and then empathy and compassion. Hey, I want to hear you, and it's hard for me to hear you with this level of activation. Would it be okay if we just take a breath together? Beautiful. Offering over an ingredient for both of you to just slow down. And then communicating the need. Could you say that again, but maybe with a little more softness in your voice and then a little bit slower? I really want to hear and understand what you're sharing with me. This is a game changer, my friend, because now you are respecting yourself and how you're being related with, and you're guiding through empathy and clarity of, this is how I'd like to be related with so that I can give you the best version of me. Like, if this gets learned, your whole life changes. And it'll be a practice. It's not like one and done. This is something that's practiced over time, but this will change your life. And then, great. Watch what changes. Watch what's different. Like when I communicate to my partner in this way, she's like, oh yeah, I was a little elevated. Thanks. Okay, and she'll say it again, and then I can receive it. And then guess what? I have then more capacity to move towards and touch her face and kiss her and be like, oh, God, sweetie, I didn't know that was happening for you. God, I love you so much. I'm so sorry that I missed you there, or I'm so sorry that I hurt you there. You matter to me. I love you. Aw. And then, moving into the juiciness. And then guess what? We both feel better. And this is why you want to learn these skills, because that wise adult work, parenting and orienting inside, then offers over better ingredients to the relationship. And then I get better ingredients back. And when both people are on board with this and subscribe to learning this, it's easier to integrate. And then it'll change everything. It'll change how you relate with each other. It'll change how you relate with others. It'll change how you show up as a father or a mother. Yeah, it's a game changer. And so go back if you need to take notes and go over this. This is a really important one. I share it a lot. And I promise you, as you practice this, you will experience a whole new standard of living, a whole new standard of relationship. And it will change everything in the most enjoyable way that you could imagine. And the last little incentive to do this work is, and this has been studied, this has been proven, when we feel more connected, like when there's more coherence between two different brains in relationship, and there's a feeling and a warmth of wanting to be connected, we live longer, up to 10 years longer, because then our body is in a state of safety. We're meant to be connected. We're meant to be bonded to a larger organism. And when we are, we just release all the good stuff. Our stem cells and white blood cells are strengthened, and we do lots of repair. But if we're in a state of disconnection, rupture, and conflict, we're actually just dumping cortisol consistently, and we're actually killing ourselves slowly. It's a slow death, but we're killing ourselves. It's what leads to disease and fibromyalgia and all kinds of, it's wild. This simple reorientation to life and to relationship, this understanding of what is going on inside, having an adaptive child and a wise adult, and that we need to learn how to parent this part and become more of this part and offer that to the world. It's like, that sounds so simple, and it is, but it's work. It's work. But it's some of the most fruitful work you will ever do in your life. And I'm just projecting that all over you because of what I've witnessed in people doing this. So thank you for tuning in. Thanks for wanting to learn this if you're still watching. And if this was valuable to you, please go subscribe, hit the bell so that you get notified in my next piece of content, where we're going to just journey this whole path of relationship deeper together. Yeah. See you on the next one.